Okay, so on this one, what you're going to do is plug in that 200 for S and then solve for P. So you're going to divide by 14.8 on both sides and then cube both sides, and then you're going to get 2,467.77. That's going to be your P. So if I was going to graph this, I would go into my calculator and I would hit that y equals button, clear anything that's in there, and then I would type 14.8 parentheses x, close parentheses, raised to the 1/3 power. A lot of y'all struggle with cubic root in graphing them, so please make sure that you know how to type that into your calculator. Yep. Because if I type this is different. If I say 3 square root of x, that's wrong. That is not the cubic root. The cubic root is raised to the 1/3 power. So I can graph it. As you're going to see on this, you're going to have to zoom out, or otherwise you get this really weird looking line. So you can zoom out by hitting zoom and scrolling down to zoom out, hitting enter. Okay? And that's your line. Okay? For part B, it says what's the average rate of change in speed as the power changes from 1,000 to 1,500. So 1,000 is going to be my x1, and 1,500 is going to be my x2. Okay? I know that rate of change is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I need to see when x is 1,000, what's y? So I'm going to go into my table set. So I hit second window. I'm going to type 1,000. And I'm going to hit second graph. And that's going to pull up my table. My y1 is going to be 148. So y1 is going to be 148. Okay? For my y2, I'm going to go into my calculator. I'm going to hit second window. And I'm going to type 1,500. And then I'm going to hit second graph, which is going to pull up my table set. And your y2 is going to be 169.42. 169.42 is going to be your y2. And now I'm going to take these numbers and plug it into this equation. So this is going to be 169.42 minus 148 divided by 1,500 minus 1,000.
Where'd you get 1,500?
Okay?
We get 16.6.
And when I plug that into my calculator, I get 169.42 minus 148. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to divide it by 1,500 minus 1,000. And that's going to give me an average rate of change of 0.04284. Okay? So it's a thrilling thing, but it's a lot of material to cover. Like, we're essentially covering 3 months of it. So here's the deal. On level 3 for AKS 17, I probably wouldn't worry about that as much. So I'm going to skip over it and go and do the other ones. But on AKS 20, okay, what you're going to do is you would isolate the radical, which the radical is already isolated. We're going to square both sides. So that's going to give you x squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 2x minus 10 times 2x minus 10. Okay? I'm going to distribute on the right-hand side. So 2x times 2x gives me 4x squared. 2x times negative 10 gives me negative 20x. Negative 10 times 2x is going to give me negative 20x. And negative 10 times negative 10 is going to give me a positive 100. I'm going to get all of my numbers moved to one side after I combine my like terms. So this is going to give me 4x squared minus 40x plus 100. So if I move everything to one side, I'm going to subtract x squared from both sides. I'm going to add 4x from both sides. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And that's going to give me 3x squared minus 36x plus 105. Now, if I do the big X, I'm going to get 3 times 105, which is, math, I don't want to do this early in the morning. 105 times 3 is going to give me 315, right? Now, for those of you who are like, I don't know how to do 315, like the two factors of that, I'm going to go into my calculator. I'm going to hit y equals. I'm going to type 315 divided by x. And I'm going to hit second table. I'm going to try to find numbers that if I add them together, I'll get negative 36. So, it's going to be 21 and 15. Negative 21, negative 15. Now I'm going to put this into my box. So I've got my A term goes into here. Last term goes in this box. And these two numbers I just found, I'm going to slap an X onto them, put them right here. I'm going to take the greatest common factor of each side and column. So that's going to give me 3x right here. It's going to give me negative 21 right here. X right here. And then 5 over, negative 5 over here. So x is going to equal 5. And then x is also going to equal, if I take 3x minus 21 and set it equal to 0, that's going to be 7, right? Now, one thing you do have to do with radicals is you do have to check them. That means you have to plug them back into the original equation to see if they're correct. Okay? So, if I do that, Baron, what am I going to get? Do I get both of these answers? Do they both work? Okay, so if I plug 49 in, or I plug 7 in, I'm going to get 49 minus 28 minus 5. 49 minus 28 is 21. 21 minus 5 is going to give me 16 with square root of 16. Or, over here, if I plug 7 in, I get 14 minus 10, which is also 4. So 7 works. If I plug 5 into this equation, I'll get 25 minus 20 minus 5. So that's going to give me 0. If I plug 5 in over here, that'll also give me 7, or give me 5. That'll also give me 0. So both of these work. So your answer is 5 and 7. On this one, you're going to square both sides because you've already isolated the radical. So that's going to give you 56 minus x equals x squared. I'm going to move all of this stuff to the other side by adding x and subtracting 56. That's going to give me x squared plus x minus 56. I'm going to do the big X. That's going to be negative 56 in the top, 1 in the bottom. What two numbers will make that happen? 8 and negative 7. So if I write this out in factored form, it's going to give me x plus 8, x minus 7. If I solve, I'm going to get x equals negative 8 and x is 7. And I'm going to take both of these and plug them into my equation and check. Okay? So we're going to check. So I'm going to take negative 8, plug it in here. That's going to give me 56 minus negative 8. Is that equal to negative 8? So 56 plus 8 gives me 64. Square root of 64 is 8. Is 8 equal to negative 8? No. I'm going to check 7. So I'm going to plug that into my equation. 56 minus 7 is 49. The square root of 49 is 7. So 7 would be your final answer on this one. We're trying to figure out which one has no solution. So on these, you're going to have to solve each one. Okay. So I would square both sides on this equation. I would get x divided by 8 equals 90 minus x. And then if I'm trying to solve for x, I'm going to get x's on one side, numbers on the other. So I'm going to multiply by 8 on both sides. And that's going to give me x equals 720 minus 8x. I'm going to add 8x to both sides. And that's going to give me 9x equals 720. Divide by 9. That's going to give me x equals 80. So it's not this one that has no solution. Okay? Looking at the next one. If I solve for this one, I'm going to have 4 plus x plus 9 equals 0. So the first thing I want to do is I want to isolate this radical. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. So that's going to give me square root of 4 plus x equals negative 9. Well, my question to you, can a square root ever be a negative number? No. So we already know that this is our answer. Now, you could do the other two, that's fine, but I'm telling you right now, that's the answer you're going to get. All right, so this is AKS 31. Okay, so this is really just key features, as well as like completing tables and stuff like that. So what you're going to do on this one is you're going to go into your calculator. You're going to go in that y equals button. And you're going to type second x squared x plus 2, close parentheses. And you're going to hit second graph to pull up the table. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to where it starts negative 4. So at negative 4, there's an error. So I'm going to write error. At negative 3, there's an error. So I'm going to write error. Okay, at negative 2, we've got 0, 1, and 1.4142. So I'm literally just copying this straight from the table. Okay. Now, if we hit graph on this thing, it's going to look like this. Okay. So we're going to have a point at negative 2 comma 0, and then it's going to start going off, right? And again, you only have to sketch it. You really never have to graph it. You just have to recognize the graph. So what is the domain of this function? Well, it starts at negative 2. That's our first number, right? And goes to positive infinity. For the range, our lowest y value is 0. And then it goes off to positive infinity. T represents age, and H represents the height of the elephants, right? Okay, so what does 75.8 represent? Average shoulder height. Okay. So on here, what you're essentially doing is taking their age, adding their shoulder height to it, taking the cubic root, and then multiplying by 62.5. Okay? Alright, I'm going to do one on 32. Okay, it says Anita's square vegetable garden is 21 square feet longer or larger than what? We didn't go over the middle one. Yeah, I'll put it in a later video. Alright, so Anita and Fred decide to pool their money together and buy the same kind of fencing for their gardens. If they need 84 feet of fencing, what is the size of each garden? Okay, so we've got Anita's and then we got Fred, right? And we know that Anita's is 21 more than Fred's. Okay? They're going to pull their money together and buy the same kind of fencing for their gardens. If they need 84 feet of fencing, what is the size of each garden? So I've got Fred's plus Anita's. And that's going to equal 84, right? So if I add my like terms together, that's going to give me 2F plus 21 equals 84. I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides. So 2F is going to equal 63. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So Frank's garden is going to be 63 divided by 2. 31.5, right? Yep. So Anita is going to have 21 plus 31.5, which is going to give me 52.5.